My doggy looks so cute. Hold on, you have to see what my dog looks like right now. Like, look at him. Life is so rough. No pun intended. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Izzy if you are new. Hey girl! Also, if I am sweating, don't say anything. I wanted to sit down and do my June/July reading wrap up. I actually read a lot more books than I realized for June and July, so let's just go ahead and get freaking started. First book I read in June was Heir of Fire by Sarah J Maas. This is the third? What is this characterized in this thing? Technically, in this little list thing right here, it's the fourth book. So I'm gonna say this is the fourth book of the Throne of Glass series. This book was the book that I started to realize, oh, this is why people like the series. Because the first three books that I read, I thought were good, but like I didn't get the hype, I guess, of this series yet. Until I read this one. It becomes more magical, I guess, and I can't explain why. It just becomes more magical, and it's so much more fun. But I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. Really good. I remember eating this book up. Have I read any of the other Throne of Glass books recently? No. Have I forgotten everything? Possibly. The next book I read was This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I read this in a reading vlog. If you want to go check that out, you can, and you may. You're welcome. This book is about our main character who every summer goes to an island with her best friend just to kind of like have a little getaway. One of the first years that she goes, she accidentally sleeps with her best friend's brother. And like one of the big no-nos is that she can't sleep with her best friend's brother and like fall in love with him and like all that. Okay? It's like going through like past timelines of the summers, but also present timeline where her best friend kind of has like this crisis going on and kind of has like a SOS, meet me at the island right now or else kind of vibes. And then also her brother is there. So it's like a, uh-oh, can't be around him either, so I gotta dodge him while also trying to be there for my best friend. But like I kind of low-key love him, but like I low-key I shouldn't. It's that vibes. In my personal opinion, I did not like this book. I did not eat her up like I thought I was going to. I think I just don't know if I really love the best friend's brother trope unless it's like high school, maybe like a YA trope. That's different. Whenever I feel like it's in an adult book, it feels very juvenile to me and it feels very like, girl, come on, you're an adult. We are over the age of 30. Why are we all like freaking out that you're dating her brother? I didn't love either of our main characters. I didn't really love the storyline and the plot setup to this. Overall, just was not for me. But like if you do like that kind of stuff, even though I just trashed on it, I gave it 2 stars. On the flip side to that, I also read this in the reading vlog. I read Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane. So this book is about our two main characters who were childhood best friends and now are kind of like workplace rivals. During this summer, they find out that one of their beloved teachers has cancer and is dying from cancer, and so kind of his dying wish is to go on a road trip to Maine to kind of have a resting, peaceful place in Maine. But he wants both of them to come on the road trip with him. They have to learn how to get along because they're gonna be stuck with each other for the whole summer. I think she just writes so well and I don't think she gets her flowers enough. I think this book was a little slightly too long. The rest I like absolutely ate up. I loved these characters. I loved this story and I loved this plot setup. I loved the writing of this. Highly recommending. Even though summer is almost over, hey, we still got a month left. You can still read her. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book I have is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is the first book of the Lakefront Billionaires series. We are following Dahlia and Julian. Julian is a billionaire. Hey, and has also taken over his late father's construction business and he now builds houses. Dahlia is this TV personality who has come back to Lake Wisteria because she has had a big breakup and just kind of needs to find herself again. She is like this TV personality, interior design. Think of Chip and Joanne. Dahlia is the Joanne. I think that's the correct reference. I don't know who those people really are, but I think that's the correct reference. Dahlia and Julian have taken on this project together and are kind of redoing this like house together. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very well done. I love Lauren Asher's books. I feel like she writes very consistent romances for me, at least. Do I think this book is a little too long? Yes. I think now she's all of a sudden like made her books like super long, but I still like really enjoyed it. I love like a good, like the banter was really well done. I really enjoyed both of the characters together. Overall, I gave it 4 stars. Man, June was a really good reading month. I'm just now like looking at all these books that I've given because the next book that I read in June
was Funny Story by Emily Henry. Funny Story is about our two main characters, no, I'm not Dahlia, sorry, that's the last, Daphne, her name's Daphne. There's so many D names. This is about our two main characters, Daphne and Miles. They have both just been broken up with. Their respective partners that have broken up with them, they get together. And so now they get kicked to the curb and Daphne needs a place to stay, so she stays at Miles's place for a couple of months just to kind of get her feet back up. And she also has nowhere else to go. So that's why she's there. Daphne is also considering moving because obviously she moved to this town for her last relationship. And so now she's thinking about moving, or she's a children's librarian. So she's also planning this event that is going on. So she's thinking about moving, but she's also got this event to worry about, but she's also kind of slowly starting to getting to know Miles. That's how I feel reading this. Why did this hit so hard? I absolutely adored this story. I absolutely adored these characters. Miles, I think he's probably the most realistic out of her book boyfriends that she has created, I guess. And that's probably why I loved him the most. Whenever, you know, the quote was like, to know someone is to love them. That's what I feel like Miles does. He knows her so well to the point of he does things for her that she doesn't even realize that she needs until he does it. And it's so good. She just doesn't miss. 5 stars. And the last book I read in June was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I read this for my classics video. It's about 4 sisters in this family during the Civil War era. And then it also tells after the Civil War has happened, kind of what happens now that they're adults and kind of figuring out their adult life now. I didn't really know what this story was about, but that's kind of basically what it is. It's just these sisters kind of figuring out life together and life separately, kind of moving from your childhood to your adulthood. Very well done. Obviously, it's a classic, but it's a very easy classic to read. I found it to be very easy to read, at least. I haven't really thought about this book since then, but I did give it 4 stars. It is still a great classic if you need to read it. It is long. It's long, but I really enjoyed it. That was all for June. Now we're getting into my July reads. First one up being I finished The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. The Catcher in the Rye is about our main character named Holden, who has just flunked out of school and goes around New York kind of asking the big question of, why do we grow up? Why do we need to grow up? What's the purpose? Why do I have to do any of this stuff whenever we're always going to be dead eventually? And that's basically it. I like to say that this book is no plot, just vibes. If you're here for just the vibes, you're gonna really like this. If you're not here for the vibes, you're not gonna like this book. But there's a lot of good themes in this book. I found the writing to be very easy to read as well. There's times where I feel like I was bored, at least, because like I said, not a lot happening. But the vibes I felt like were pretty good. Overall, I gave this 3.5 stars because there are times I was a little tiny bit bored and I was like, okay, he's like saying the same thing over and over again. Let's go on to the next thing. If you need something for an English class or you just want to pick it up and read it, I actually did enjoy it. The next book I read in July was East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This is actually a reread for me. People like to say this is a Cain and Abel retelling. Yes and no. It's basically just a retelling sort of the Bible, the book of Genesis. You're following these two families and kind of the generational things between these two families and kind of how they get intertwined. It's a very character-driven story about following these characters and this family as a whole and kind of what they kind of get up to. Also not a very heavy plot. It is one of my absolute favorite classics. I think the characters that are in this are so well done. Just something about these characters are just so absolutely intriguing and they feel so human-like because of all of these decisions that they make that they think are right. It is a tad bit slow, like I said, because there's really not a central plot forcing the story. One of my favorite classics, I gave it 5 stars. It's a reread for me. Great book. Another reread I did in July was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is set in a world where there are ordinaries and there are elites. Ordinaries have no powers, elites have these fantastical powers. And our main girl Peyton is an ordinary living among elites who is pretending to become an elite because if they find out she's an ordinary, she'll get One day she happens to save the prince and she kind of gets catapulted into these purging trials, which are to showcase elites' powers and their capabilities, but Peyton has no powers. So she is trying to not get caught in not having any powers, while also trying to survive during the trials. And then you also get the perspective of the Prince Kai. They have like a tensiony little romance as well, and whatever. This is a great book when you're in the mood for it. I feel like the first go around I read this, I was like, this 8. This is like the best thing I've ever read. Like, I gave it like a very high rating. But this second go around, when I was listening to it / reading it, there were times I was like, I don't care. I don't care if you live or die, honestly. But I still enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. It's like, when you're in the mood for it, you're in the mood for it. If you're not in the mood for it, you're not gonna like it. So the next book I read was Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This is her newest release. This is about our main character who has become a single mom. Her and her partner have gotten a divorce. She's not really like looking for love really, but she just happens to meet this guy at a dog park who she's like, he's kind of cute. They kind of have this little awkward meet cute. She soon finds out that this guy is actually a guy she knew from high school, who is her best friend's little brother, but she hasn't seen him in so long that he looks so different that she was like, oh, I didn't even recognize you. And so she just kind of is like, you know what, I'm just gonna have this little summer romance with this guy, and then that's it, and that's all it's gonna be, until she starts to like actually start falling in love with him. I started really enjoying the setup. I started really enjoying the build up of this. I thought it was very well done, and then somewhere in the middle it really lost me. I was getting bored. I just thought it was okay. I gave it 3.5 stars. I would still recommend it. It was good. I just think it definitely lost me. Like I said, I don't even know if that's a me thing or if it was a book thing. It was probably a me thing. So yeah. The next book I read was Una Out of Order by Margarita. I'm calling her Margarita. Margarita Mottimoa. This is about our main character named Una, who on her 18th birthday, she has awoken up in her 51-year-old body. She's really confused. She doesn't know what's going on. And she's like, why am I not 19? I'm 51. That's really weird. She has gone from like the 80s to now to the 20 somethings. So every year on her birthday, she time travels to a different year of her life. This was such a pleasant like surprise for me. I haven't heard anyone talk about this before. It was so good though. I really enjoyed that time travel aspect of her, like kind of going from different years of her life and kind of seeing different glimpses of her life and stuff. I read some reviews and saying they were kind of confused. I didn't feel confused in this at all. The only thing that you don't find out is like why she time travels. Hey, you're just letting you know, you don't ever find out why she does. You can kind of, like I said, suspend your disbelief on that part. It is so good. It's so well done. It was so interesting. I gave this 4 stars. There's some good plot twists in this too, so I really enjoyed this. Pick it up if you haven't. The next book I read was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. You see why I reread Powerless? It's because I read Reckless too. I'm gonna give you kind of a brief summary of how I felt. This was a tad disappointing, but not overall disappointing. There's no plot. It really is, like I said, heavy on the romance in this one. So if you really enjoyed like the tension in the first book, you will really be so obsessed with this one, because their romance just absolutely flourishes in the second half of this book. But that's like the only good thing about this book. The first half could have been thrown away. I did enjoy the romance bits, but like any fantasy aspect, hell, there's nothing happening. I gave it 3.5 stars. Like I said, the romance saved this book. If it did not have the romance in this, I would not have recommended it. Next book I read was The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. This book is kind of set in a world where the British government has figured out time travel, and so they have this Ministry of Time where they are going back into the past and taking these people from different timelines and bringing them to the present and kind of having them adapt to current lifestyle stuff. Why are they doing this? I don't remember. And we are following our main girl, who we never find her name, by the way. I'm just now realizing that. But we have our main character, who is called a quote, a bridge, which is, she's just basically like monitoring the person that they bring back and kind of like helping them acclimate to our current lifestyle. I'm gonna be honest with this one. I was bored for like 50% of this book. That's probably an exaggeration. There were things I was confused by. So like there are certain things that would happen that I'm like, what the fuck am I reading? Like I'm really confused, but I liked it. Like I don't know how to explain the emotions and how I felt about this book to you, like at all. Like I said, there were times I was completely lost and I had no idea what was going on. And then there's times where I thought it was absolutely eating. And I was like, yes, I absolutely know what's going on actually. I don't know if I'm gaslighting myself or if I'm just truly delusional. I don't know. First half was rough though for me, but the last half, really well done, really good. I don't know how I feel about this book, but I gave it 4 stars. I just think I was a little bit confused at the beginning. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. That's probably it. I think the writing was very good. It's just like there was a lot of big words. There was a lot of big words in this book and I was like, The last book that I read in July was Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. This is Matthew Perry's memoir. This was on my 24 books of 2024. I'm really excited that I finished it. It was a very sad book though because he does talk about like his relationship with drugs and alcohol, and it was quite sad, especially now that he has passed, and kind of like that he really dealt with that kind of his whole life. And I thought overall it was just really interesting. I don't know, I felt weird about rating this book, so I didn't. I really enjoyed it. Great audiobook because he also narrates it. That's it. That's all I have. Those are all the books that I read in June and July. This was a long ass video, so I'll let you go. I'll let you leave. Okay, you can go now. You don't have to stay here any longer. Why are you still here? Go. Just leave. That episode in SpongeBob where it's the seahorse and it's like he's already he's letting the seahorse go and he's like, you can go, you big stupid animal, and it's like Patrick's behind him. Me to you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you all in the next